On any one night in Australia, 122,500 people are homeless. Those were the numbers that came out during the last census, and that was a record number of people who are homeless. Each and every year, the people who run the businesses and governments of our country, they sleep rough as part of the Vinnies CEO Sleepout to raise money, to raise awareness and to remind us of what that plight is. The New South Wales Premier, Chris Minns, is one of them, along with the boss of Vinnies, who is none other than Yolanda Saiz, and both join us right now ahead of a very cold night in Sydney. Premier, nice to talk to you, and again, congratulations on your victory. First chance to do so since that's the case. I'm a big fan of your Housing and Homelessness Minister, Rose Jackson, regular on the show. But from a government perspective, you can throw a lot of money, but how do you change attitudes and support services?
Yeah, it's not easy, Paul, and one of the reasons we're here tonight is to get an understanding of how sleeping rough is very difficult. It's hard on people. It's obviously devastating for those that go through it, and to have a little bit of empathy, even if it's for just one night, I think does make a big difference both for government officials and for CEOs. And as you said earlier, it's also important to raise money for this much needed and important organisation, Vinnies. Yeah,
ceosleepout.org.au, we'll plug it many times. Yolanda, how many people are involved? It's obviously not just happening in Sydney, it's all around the place. I always feel for the people in Canberra who do it. But how many people have you got this year?
Yeah, there's 1,400 participants across the country, and we've got 365 in New South Wales, so great support again. I think the event holds a very special place in the hearts of our participants because it's not only about raising critical funds for our services, but actually they come here and they hear firsthand the stories of people with lived experience. We're very grateful to the people we've assisted who so generously share their stories, and it's an eye-opener for people, so they learn a lot. We ask them to raise funds, and when they leave here, we ask them to advocate on behalf of the issues.
Yolanda, we know about cost of living and all the other pressures right now, but give me an idea about what Vinnies does for a homeless person on any one night in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, or even in the bush.
Sure. We run services right across the country. So we run frontline services, homeless shelters, domestic and family violence refuges. Our vans are out every night of the year except for Christmas night, and they provide companionship, food, assistance with bills, assistance with rent, advocate on behalf of people who are in need with housing or with energy companies. And of course we provide crisis accommodation, we provide casework to help people rebuild their lives. So really every night across Australia, Vinnies is out there making a difference, and we're helping thousands of people every year. So it's critical that the work of organisations like the Society continue to be funded, and that events like this can raise the profile of the issues, but also critical funds to keep the doors of our services open.
Premier, of course you fought hard for it, you won the election and you now have the power of the premiership in New South Wales, but is this one of those moments when you're confronted by how frankly powerless sometimes the most powerful person can be, that there's a whole collection of people who we need to help but sometimes we just can't?
Look, I mean, I think it's a humbling experience to do it. I've got to put it in perspective. It's one night. People have to do this every single night of the year, and to do that, have it wreck your life as a result of not having access to housing is devastating. I think from the perspective of the government, we need to do big things and little things. You mentioned Rose earlier. She recently got rid of what's called the Seeker Diary, which the previous government made homeless people fill out a diary to prove that they were trying to get private rental accommodation every 48 hours. No one was doing it, and it just perpetuated this cycle of homelessness. That's a little thing that can be done immediately. When it comes to scale, Paul, we've got to get more private capital and government capital into housing. That means more density, it means more urban consolidation, more social housing. And in particular for young people, it's not necessarily a homelessness issue, but allow more people to get into rental accommodation and buy their first home in Sydney, because for a lot of people, it's proving extremely elusive.
Good point. Premier, give Rose whatever she's got. She's got 130 kilos of screaming bloke on the telly behind her. Yolanda, thank you for all the work that you do. ceosleepout.org.au, ceosleepout.org.au. Thank you, Premier. Thank you, Yolanda.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Good on you guys.